If it were my money and I was after a hot hatch, I'm telling you now, Hi guys, welcome back to CMD and another video. You join me back here at hothatches.co.uk HQ for what is unbelievably episode 10. So it seemed poignant, only fair to mark this anniversary with what I feel is a very, very special episode. If you like your hot hatches, you'll have found it very difficult to stay away from the Yaris GR. I've spent a number of weeks in one of these cars previously, and I'm going to admit an element of bias. I'm completely besotted with them. This example is for sale right now. If you want to check out hothatches.co.uk, I'll put a link in the description below to their website, and it's an absolute minter. If you're new to the channel and you haven't seen us before, CMD has been set up as a YouTube channel with a difference. All the revenue that we generate from sponsored videos like the one you're watching, or the ad revenue that we generate from videos just like this one, all lands in a designated bank account. All of that money, without exception, is donated to local, national and international charities. So far, we've given away over £2,000 to great causes, and that's off the back of people like you watching videos like this. So if you like what you see, hit that like button, give me a subscribe. That's enough for that. To go find out a little bit more about this car, we've got to take it for a drive. So let's go. How are we looking? Mirrors are all over the shop. Back in a Yaris. Oh, I've missed that gear change. Before we get started, obviously just warm the car up and get off the estate that Hot Hatches is based on, which is beautiful, by the way. A few buttons you need to press immediately. IMT, rev matching, essentially, and auto stop start. But immediately, just as I'm pootling around, I've started to remember just why I fell in love with these things so much. It's so easy just to run. Everything's very functional, and it's actually just a very, very comfortable place to sit. One of the main criticisms I always hear is around the seat height. I get why the seat height is deemed high. You do feel high up, but it is quite a little stocky car. There is a way to fix that. I did a video more recently with Paul's Yaris GR where we took that for a trip to Suspension Secrets, and they've got a solution whereby they lower the seat and put the seat on a plate to help with the seating position, and that's fixed, admittedly, so you lose your slide function, but does take care of the ride height, and that makes a great difference too. It's nice to feel a little bit lower in the car. I like to sit low in cars, and that does take care of it, but it's not horrific from the offset. It's just if you're used to sitting low. I've driven here in my 911 and immediately I feel quite high up, but it's a very comfortable place to sit, and you get an awful lot of creature comforts. And it's just one of these cars that immediately, you know, if I'd have driven here in this, I'd have driven here with radar guided cruise control, lane keep assist, I'd have had all of my infotainment system, Bluetooth music, you know, climate control. Everything is just really lovely to use on a day-to-day basis. Immediately it could be a daily. And that's, I think, one of the strengths of this car, in that when you're not trying to enjoy it, it lends itself to just not doing a huge amount. You know, the little 1.6 litre 3-cylinder car is punching out 261 PS, 266 pound-foot of torque, I think, and you know, I can cruise along now 45 mile an hour in 6th gear below 2,000 revs. So it's doing half decent economy. Not that you're overly arsed about that, are you? Let's be fair. But we're just trying to get some heat into the car, and it doesn't have to feel like you need to go at it all the time. It will lend itself to chilled driving without feeling like you've got to go, you know, because actually to work this car and to get the best from it, you need to be right up there in the revs. And that's where it's at its happiest, and it's where you'll get the most enjoyment from the car. But if you don't want to be there, you don't have to be, which is, I think, quite nice. Red Match is doing a bit of work for me. And we're off into the windy stuff. And it's only when you boot it that you start to get a feel for what this thing is all about. It just loves a British B road, this car. So on that note, let's talk about driving it. I'm just going to pop it into sport, sharpen a few things up. Just heaven. It's got a great front end. Feel like you can just point it in and it will do what you ask it to. Gearbox just gives you that extra layer of engagement that, quite frankly, you don't get from a lot of cars these days. It's very back to basics. And then the little 1.6 3-cylinder, as underwhelming as that sounds on paper, really just gives you absolutely everything you could ever need from a hot hatch. Car sounds great from stock as a little, little pocket rocket. You can add things like Miltech exhausts. Again, if you want to see a car with one of those on, have a look at the videos I shot while there. I'll make sure there's a link in a playlist somewhere, because that thing was juiced up in all sorts of areas. But I don't feel like you have to go there with this car. It really does lend itself to just fun driving straight out of the box. But more importantly, on a day like today, so it's December, it's a nice winter's day to be fair, but slippy British B roads. This is the sort of car that if you want to go and have some fun while staying safe and legal, it really will lend itself to all the enjoyment that you can think of. Case in point, and here's the thing, on a day like today you get to use all of the car. That traction control system is just saving my bacon at the moment, but very, very trick. 4-wheel drive on a very, very slippy day. I'm asking the car to do all of its power and it's just about managing it. I feel like the idea of a hot hatch is that you can use it on British roads, okay? The ultimate B road blasters, that's what they're good at, and the benefit of them is you get to use all of them. You know, you're not skittish around the throttle pedal, you can really rinse this thing, and it won't only reward you for it, it'll thank you at the same time. And for me, that's the absolute beauty of them. I think you can detect, I would imagine, an element of bias, which I make no apology for in this instance. It is a hype machine, isn't it? How much have we all heard about how great these things are and just what they're capable of, and I don't do it justice in that respect. Far from it. Can't really give it the beans out of this junction. Got Horsey behind me. Horsey! And go all the way up to 7,000 revs, and it just goes, and then you throw it into a corner. Oh yeah, it's just sheer enjoyment straight out of the box. You don't have to mess with it. Of course you can tinker, and if that's your thing, why not, quite frankly, but throw it into a corner. The 4-wheel drive system will do a large majority of it for you. You can feel slip, but it doesn't put the car off, not in the slightest. Into a 30. They're just brilliant. And I really can't think of a better car to celebrate 10 videos with hothatches.co.uk. When Chris and I set out to make videos for the channel, it was really on the premise that hopefully it would be some great exposure for Chris and his brand and his business, but also that we would get to film cars and that would generate us some revenue, which is obviously going out to some fantastic causes. In all credit to Chris, there has been no car off limit. Genuinely chucks me the keys to what is essentially his assets and cars that will later on be sold, and says go and enjoy yourself, make sure you warm it up, look after the car, this is what you need to watch out for, and off you go, as well as doing some videos himself for us. And testament to you guys, you've watched them, so you're obviously very patient people. But not only that, people have bought cars through Hot Hatches after watching videos, which to me is just unthinkable. I never imagined in a million years, genuinely, that would be the case. So thank you. But these things are just genuinely, utterly ridiculous. I am. If it were my money and I was after a hot hatch, I'm telling you now, this is where I would be spending it. I defy anyone to drive a car on a wet British B road and use more of its capacity and have more fun. I just don't think you can do it. Right, it's time to sort of put an end to it for me. I'm going to pop the car back into normal, cool it down for 10 minutes on the way back to the dealership. Just a very quick thank you to you all for tuning in. I know it's not a, you know, be all and end all of these cars. We've never set out to give you a huge amount of data on these videos. It's really a case of trying to show you what the experience is like of driving them, and my thoughts on them as a completely independent. I'm not an expert, I'm just an enthusiast. I hope it comes across that I'm a very big fan, because I really am, and rightly so. So for me guys, it's a huge thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I've got more videos to film today, so be sure to check those out in the hothatches.co.uk playlist. But what would you spend your money on? I think this is as good as it gets from Hot Hatch territory. Where would you go instead? Fiesta ST, Hyundai i20N would be a very good shout. But what have I missed? You tell me. But for now, cheers.